So the Gardner Business Index overall has been growing since November of 2016, and in particular in 2017, the growth is very strong this year. In fact, it's at the highest level in the last 5 years since 2012, and the sustained level of growth is probably the strongest since the Great Recession in 2009. We're seeing kind of a broad base of manufacturing activity doing well, so it's not any one particular industry or particular process, but the entire industry seems to be doing well, and I think there was actually a lot of, to use a bad word from some economists, pent-up demand in the industry that sort of got released after the election as manufacturers felt better about what was going to happen. So the Gardner Business Index is a monthly survey of manufacturing activity in the United States. It works pretty much like the PMI index that a lot of people would be familiar with because it's reported in the Wall Street Journal and other financial press, but there are some key differences to the Gardner Business Index in that our index focuses on durable goods manufacturing, and we get a range of facility sizes that help us really pinpoint specific activity in the industry. The main kind of processes that we're covering are metalworking, plastics processing, and composites fabricating, and then we have some smaller industries within those, or smaller processes that are subcomponents of those, such as precision machining and mold making. Within the business index, because we're sending the survey out to subscribers to our magazines, we know a number of demographics about each of these facilities. We know their plant size, we know what process they do. For example, do they do metalworking or plastics processing? We know what industry they're in, so that are they serving the aerospace industry or the automotive industry, or are they a job shop? And then we also know what region of the country they're in. We ask a variety of questions, basically 10 simple questions. We ask, are your new orders going up, going down, or staying the same as the previous month? And we ask that same basic question for new orders, production, backlog, employment, supplier deliveries, exports, and then a few other questions as well. The Gardner Business Index works like any of the other type of indices that you see like this, where 50 is the baseline. 50 indicates that things are the same as the previous month. Anything above 50 indicates that that particular measure, new orders for example, is growing, and anything below 50 indicates that it's contracting. The further you get from 50, the faster the growth is. So one of the unique things about the Gardner Business Index is that Gardner Business Media has a number of magazines that cover the durable goods, discrete parts manufacturing industry. And every month we're reaching more than 100,000 manufacturing facilities of various sizes that are making parts for various industries. And each month we're surveying more than 50,000 of those facilities, and we're getting back approximately 600 surveys every month for the index. So we get to cover a broad range of industries, a broad range of plant sizes across the entire country for durable goods manufacturing. Approximately 50% of durable goods manufacturing facilities have fewer than 50 employees. So there's a lot of activity in those small companies, whereas the PMI index is generally focused on larger companies. That's good if you want to project GDP and other large macroeconomic measures, but if you're really wanting to know what goes on in durable goods manufacturing, you have to pay attention to those small facilities. The GBI index does a good job of projecting capital equipment spending because we're paying attention to what's happening in those small facilities. For example, in the machine tool industry, plants with more than 250 people in their facility, they tend to buy about $2 to $2.5 billion of capital equipment in a year. When you look at smaller facilities, under 20 employees, they buy about $1 billion to $1.5 billion a year. The interesting thing about that, though, is in the over 250 employee segment, you might have 5,000 facilities, but in the under 20 employee segment, you have 35,000 facilities. One of the key indicators of the Gardner Business Index, the one that I pay the most attention to, particularly when I'm trying to forecast capital equipment markets, is the backlog index. This is looking at the backlog of orders that manufacturers have building up in their facility. This is important because the backlog index is an excellent leading indicator of capacity utilization. It tends to lead capacity utilization by about 7 to 10 months. Capacity utilization then tends to lead capital equipment consumption by another 7 to 10 months. And capacity utilization is probably the best leading indicator of capital equipment. So when we look at our backlog index, it's giving you a 14 to 20 month lead time on what is going to happen with capital equipment consumption. If we take the business index and kind of use that to look at capital equipment markets and what's happening in durable goods manufacturing, we're sort of entering a peak period in the business index, and it's maintaining that high level of growth. This is very good for durable goods manufacturing and capital equipment consumption. It looks like the capital equipment markets will be quite strong throughout at least the end of 2017 and into 2018 as well.